After doing this exercise, Adama was then ushered into the king's chamber to her new reality of being married to a mad king. Adama could not believe her eyes. The elders never revealed to her that the king, her new husband, was mad. Once upon a time, there lived a mad king who ruled in a very great kingdom. The king, although mad, was very handsome and known for being so generous and kind to his people. However, tragedy struck when his beloved wife, the queen, died during childbirth. The king, torn by the death of his beloved wife, began to seclude himself from everyone who cared about him. He cut off the entire world and began to live a life of solitude in his chamber as he warned everyone to stay away from his chamber door. For weeks and even months, no one in the palace saw the king. The people began to worry as they feared that something terrible might have happened to their beloved king. So one day, the village elders decided to send in the oldest man in their village, whom the king respected so much, to go into the king's chamber to confirm the current condition of the king. The old man returned to the village elders, revealing that their king had gone mad. Everyone muttered in confusion as they wondered how their kingdom would thrive under the rule of a mad king. They all decided within themselves to keep the king's madness a secret because they knew what such a news would do to their kingdom. The old man then decided that it would be best for the chief priest to consult their ancestors on what to do about the king. One of the elders, Mazi Achebe, who was also the king's uncle, suggested that a new king be installed as their village cannot be known as a village ruled by a mad king. All the other elders rebuked Mazi Achebe for thinking in such a manner, as they all believed that their king's sanity would be one day restored. The chief priest of the village then consulted the gods, who revealed that the king's sanity hinges on him finding that which he had lost. All the elders were confused as they wondered what the king could have lost, which was so pivotal to him regaining his sanity. So, the elders decided to take turns to speak to the king to see if he would divulge anything helpful to them to aid in the search of the missing item. The elders believed that their wealth of experience and wisdom might guide them in asking the right questions to the king to help them in finding whatever the king might have lost. After speaking to the king, the elders returned confused as the king refused to speak to any of them except Mazi Obieze, who revealed that on his visit, all the king muttered was his late wife's name. Everyone felt pity for the king because they knew how much the king loved his dead wife. What should we do? The elders asked within themselves, and Mazi Obieze spoke up saying, I believe it is high time that the king marries a new bride. The loss of his wife, the queen, has taken a toll on his health for far too long. I believe it is high time that the king heals his wounds by marrying a new wife, which will hasten his healing process. When the other elders heard this, they all agreed, but asked how it would be possible considering the fact that the king was mad, and Mazi Obieze spoke to them saying that the bride would be arranged for the king in his absence and once the bride agrees to be married to the king, she would swear on the staff of authority of the king never to tell anyone about anything concerning the king. All the elders agreed to the plan and sent the town crier to announce the king's decision to take on a new bride. When the maidens of the village heard this, they were excited as everyone wished to be chosen as the king's bride. They were all to undertake a series of tasks to prove their worthiness as the future queen of the village. Among the contenders was a humble and gentle maiden named Adama. Known for her compassion and intelligence, Adama approached the task with grace. Little did she know the secret burden she was about to bear. After completing all the tasks, the elders chose Adama as the new bride of the king. She was led to the palace, where the elders explained the delicate situation and the sacred oath of silence she had to take as the king's new bride. Adama, filled with so much excitement, agreed to swear on the staff of authority of the king that she would never divulge to anyone anything that had to do with the king. After doing this exercise, Adama was then ushered into the king's chamber to her new reality of being married to a mad king. On sighting the mad king, Adama could not believe her eyes. The elders never revealed to her that the king, her new husband, was mad. Adama, although filled with fear, summoned the courage to walk towards the king. She noticed how absent-minded the king was and wondered what could have caused his madness. Tears rolled down her eyes as she remembered how kind the king was to her late father when he lost all he had in a fire incident. Filled with compassion, Adama began to look after the king, who was always agitated and furious. Whenever Adama noticed that the king was agitated, she would whistle her favorite song, which always made the king calm. Adama ensured that the king was well taken care of, despite his state of health. That was how Adama slowly fell in love with the mad king. One morning, Mazi Achebe came to the palace in search of Adama. He brought with him a pot of delicious meal, saying that his beloved wife made the meal specially for the king and his queen Adama. Adama was so delighted to see how much Mazi Achebe cared for his nephew the king. She thanked him for his kindness and took the food to the king. The next morning, everyone noticed that Adama was nowhere to be found. The attention of the village elders were drawn to her weird disappearance as they all wondered where she could be. Filled with confusion, they sent the palace guards to comb the whole village in search of Adama. They searched and searched and searched, but Adama was nowhere to be found. The disappearance of Adama put everyone in shock as they all wondered what could have happened to their new queen. Weeks passed and still there was no word from Adama. News began to circulate that Adama might have died like their first queen, and this troubled the elders who feared for the king's safety. They decided to hold a meeting in the palace to deliberate on what next to do when they were confronted with the shocker of their lives. Their king walked into the room looking perfectly fine and well. "Our king is no longer mad," said Mazi Obieze, whose heart was glad to see the king. The elders murmured between themselves as they asked the king questions to understand what happened. The king then revealed to them that he was never mad and that he pretended to be mad to enable him catch the person behind the death of his wife and unborn baby. Everyone's mouths opened in shock as they asked the king what he was talking about. It was then that the king revealed that Mazi Achebe, his uncle, was behind all that happened. Mazi Obieze asked how the king knew this, and the king revealed that on the day when the elders took turns to talk to him, the day they believed he was mad, his uncle Mazi Achebe laughed at him to his face, saying that this was only the beginning, as he was going to kill the king and steal the throne. He bragged about his involvement in the death of the queen and vouched that he would ensure that the king never has an heir. All this he said, thinking that the king was mad. So, when the elders married Adama for the king knew that her life was in grave danger. On the day when Mazi Achebe brought the pot of food for the king and queen, the king saw the excitement in Adama's eyes as she approached him with the food. So the king had to come clean as he told her all that had been happening and his uncle's involvement in killing his first queen. The king knew that the food was poisoned, so he urged Adama to go into hiding till he exposed his wicked uncle Mazi Achebe. The king then told Adama to go to the hut of the oldest man in the village, the man who first announced to the elders that the king was mad. The king not only respected the old man, but trusted him with his life. The king told Adama to hide in the old man's hut, as the old man was the mastermind behind his plan. The old man came up with the plan on the day that the elders told him to go check on the king. He knew that someone was after the king and his family, and knew that the king would only find out who it was if he pretended to be mad. The old man then confided in the chief priest of the village, who pretended to have heard from the gods about the king's madness. So, the old man advised the king to feign madness for a while till they figured out who was behind his late wife's death. When the elders heard this, they opened their mouths in shock. With the evidence in hand, the king, now ready to reclaim his true role, confronted his uncle Mazi Achebe, who began to shake in fear. The traitorous uncle, caught in his own web of deception and lies, confessed to his crimes, and the kingdom once again stood united against a common enemy. Mazi Achebe was banished out of the land and warned never to return. Adama then emerged from her hidden sanctuary, and the kingdom rejoiced at the return of their rightful queen. That was how the kingdom became free from the clutches of deceit, and the true story of the king who feigned his own madness unfolded. The people celebrated the triumph of justice, and the once mad king, now restored to his rightful state, ruled with wisdom and compassion. The king also fell in love with Adama and spared no time to tell her how much he loved her. Adama's selfless act during the time when the king feigned his madness won the king's heart over, and the king thanked her for being so kind to him despite believing that he was mad. That was how Adama ruled beside the kind and loving king, and their kingdom flourished and prospered. The lesson to be learned from this story is that there is nothing hidden under the sun. The evil you do would one day come to light, so try not to do evil to others. Also ensure not to be envious of what other people have, as envy only leads to one's downfall. Be kind to people and ensure to live in peace with all men. I hope you enjoyed the story. Like, subscribe and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.